I do think it's really important to make hard things funny, and life is hard and it's important for it to be funny. But then also it's kind of like you're not a joke though. And I think that's something I'm working through, and I think maybe you are too. And it could have to do too with like us having big hearts for people. Like, I don't want you to feel the pain I felt through my story, but then it's like, no, you kind of need to, because it's a life lesson.
Hey guys, my name is Katie Enterkin, and I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to unveil what I like to call the beautiful beast that already lives inside us all. And welcome to the podcast about everything and a little bit of nothing. I've had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora, I love big words, a myriad of experiences just being a human and existing. These are real conversations with real people, getting to know each other, sharing stories that make us cry, and occasionally pee our pants with laughter. We talk about all kinds of life stuff: parenthood, business, life goals, fitness, chasing your dreams, and yes, even some animal noises are involved. For more information, keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Hello, beasts. You guys, I hope you're ready to have your heart set on fire, and I'm not talking about the heartburn from the burrito you had for lunch. This episode is fire itself. I hung out with my dear friend, Michelle Brunzell, and she told her story about her insane experience with drug addiction and how she was saved from it. She is honest, she is vulnerable, and she spills it all out for you on the table, on a wooden platter, with a spork. Anyway, this woman is a freaking warrior, and I encourage you to listen to the entire episode. Now, of course, it starts off with us telling stories of back in the day about how we met and hit it off instantly, but her story of addiction will set your heart on fire, period. As always, I hope something lands with you today. I hope something you hear tugs on your heartstrings, and or I hope you laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sitting with Michelle Brunzell. Can I use your middle name?
Yeah.
Because I like your name is so Valley Girl that I'm excited. You guys, the first time ever we're using like professional-ish equipment.
Yeah, I feel like personality-wise, we're supposed to be doing some weird boppy song together or some pageant performance.
Yeah.
Feels weird that we're just talking. I feel like we need to.
I know.
It'll work.
It'll work, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're sitting on the world's smallest love seat.
It's nice.
I don't know why I'm on the edge.
And I don't even have shoes on and didn't even ask you if that was fine. Care. I just made myself out.
I don't care. This is the shitter.
And I just got undressed.
She did. She came in. She took off her top. Well, you promised in our little video before.
Yeah.
Remember, you're like, I'll just come naked.
No, I said I'd put clothes on.
Oh, yeah, at the end. Like, really fast. So, like, if somebody skipped forward on that story, then
yeah,
they wouldn't catch that you were going to come in clothes.
True.
I'm so nervous it's going to stop recording.
Well, I think we'll be okay. We can check it every few minutes.
Okay. As long as we still see the blue thingies, which is what they're called, moving up and down.
I couldn't watch this the whole time. That was very distracting.
I know, right?
Okay, let's not look at it. I'm done.
Okay, don't look.
We'll look in a few minutes. Can two type A people successfully do a podcast?
It's funny that you say that, because when I started this, all I did was just start recording conversations, knowing I wanted to make it a podcast, but I had no idea how or where to post it or what to do or what equipment I needed. And one of my excuses was, I don't have equipment. I don't have microphones. And I was like, I have a lapel mic. That'll work. So I'd sit here like this. And then I'd get cramps in my hand.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you first told me you had it, I wanted to listen right away.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know what to expect of it. I knew it would be fun because you're fun. So I was like, oh, I'll love it because it's fun. But I was so impressed as a podcast listener with the quality and how fun your podcast was.
Oh,
loved
you.
it. I
Oh my
loved
God.
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to cry.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
We're going to cry today because we've just known each other a long time.
Probably.
We're probably going to get deep.
I know. And if somebody comes in, I'll be like, hold on, can I help you?
They'll just think you're listening to some really good, some new album that's really deep. Some new Kanye.
I like deep. And not in the weird. Never mind.
Let's keep it clean-esque.
Oh. So, Sarah Michelle Brunzell.
Yes.
Can you tell my mom who you are? My
me,
listener.
I know. Now you really do have only one listener because before it was me and your mom, but I'm here now.
I know.
So, Rosemary, I'm the girl who lived at your house for a little bit. It's a total mess that you tried to sweep up unsuccessfully, but you and your mom have always been so supportive of me and like, I'm gonna cry. We just started, but Rosemary knows who I am.
Hi, Mom.
So, hi, Mom. Yes, I've known Katie a very long time. I just realized there might be another person listening.
Oh, yeah.
But so if your cousin's listening now, I've known Katie since high school. I lived with her and her mom for a little bit, and then I was her roommate, probably much to her chagrin because I was a total basket case at that time. But we've been friends since, and I've kind of had a life change, and she's had a lot of amazing things happen in her life. Like she's gotten married, the first marriage doesn't count, and she has a baby who's beautiful. So yeah, we've both gone through a lot of little life things together.
Yes. And that brief moment where she said roommate, if you listen to episode 3.
I love that you know offhand.
That's because I post them in order of, like, if I interview you, then you'll be this episode, like, in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah. So episode 3 was Tigan Blank Toefel.
That's so funny. But you can't have a middle name when your name's Tigan. That's already an aggressive choice.
I know.
I'm going to name my daughter Tiger Lion. And I'm also going to have a middle name. Like, no.
Tiger Lion.
Yeah. Is there, do we need to pray over this room? What is that?
That's the chairs in the next room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I shouldn't have said something then because it's a customer, so that's fine.
Oh, no, he's fine.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know. But maybe we should talk like this and be quieter so we don't ruin his listening experience of shit equipment.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I don't know how to talk softly.
No, I don't either. My husband said on our first date, on my first date, my husband went to Starbucks, which is already loud. But he said I was so loud that he was thinking to himself, does she know she's loud or does she not hear really good? But no, I'm just loud.
That's so funny. Have you ever gone to a restaurant with Mike Moffat? My
Little
stepdad.
Mike Moffat. Didn't sit down at Toffet and have tea? No.
No. You know Mike.
Yeah.
My stepdad.
I don't know
tall,
why it took me a
6'6".
second
Ooh,
to-
someone's coming in. Okay. So this is going to be a very interesting episode because you're banging your horns against the wall. But also because I'm at work, like usual at the shitter, and we're going to be hitting pause and play and pause and play. So what were you doing?
You were asking me if I've ever had dinner with your stepdad when you weren't there in time you didn't know about. No, I haven't been on a date with your dad.
That's not what I meant. And I don't think I said when I wasn't there. What I meant was, have you ever gone with us out to dinner? Oh, because we were talking about being loud in restaurants.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
It's going to be like a 17-minute segment. Talking
About your dad.
Mike. So what else can you tell my listener about yourself?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. There's a lot of things about myself.
There's a lot of things about herself.
In what vein?
Which vein? Like, which vein did you put the drugs into, or?
Oh no, like what do you want me to talk about? I never did it intravenously.
Never intravenously.
Only because I'm afraid of needles, not because I was afraid of drugs.
This is true.
Whoa.
She lost her horns again.
Sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay.
You know what? I'm gonna put these aside. I just want like the energy from the
Viking. Well, a lot of the product names here are from Thor.
Norwegian.
Like I said, I know nothing about the products I sell. Oh, I know what I want to talk about.
Yes.
I want to talk about kind of sort of how we met.
Okay.
At C school.
Okay.
And the class that we were in and the play that we wrote.
That's super racist play.
Well, I wasn't going to say racist. I was just going to say that in today's society where everybody's offended by everything, it would not fly.
It was racist. But we didn't know.
We didn't know. It was stereotypical. Let's put it that way.
It was racist.
Yeah. She played a...
my part was only
Southerner.
prejudice.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. She was Bobby Joe, Peggy Sue, Mary Ellen Beth.
Yes.
And she played it well.
We wrote a play together. We had a teacher who thought we were learning, but like us.
We were learning.
No, I'm kidding. We did.
Yeah, we did.
Learn a lot in that class, and I really love that teacher because he kind of let you be who you were, whether it was bananas or serious. He kind of found who everybody was and then allowed them to be that. And he knew that I was a hillbilly who loved fried chicken.
That's so awesome.
No, he let Katie and I write a play. And it was supposed to be like awareness, I guess.
Yes.
And we were supposed to take this play to grade school children. I mean, this is an episode of The Office. So in it was a dating show.
Okay, let me put this into perspective for those of you who are like, what the are they talking about? Okay, so it was a class called the Pop Arts Academy.
I didn't even remember that. I don't remember a lot of things.
It's okay. It was all the substances that you took.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to ease you guys in.
Yeah. So, and I wasn't laughing at the fact that you were taking substances. You know.
You and I relate in that we make hard things funny.
Yes, exactly. Oh God. Every time I talk about something hard, I'm like, and then my grandma would like tell me I was fat and then I'll laugh about it and I'm like, why do I do that?
You know why we do it, or why I do it subconsciously, and I think I've gotten a little bit better about it, is because you're worried that your pain is making somebody else uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So you're like, ha ha, don't be uncomfortable. But it's like, no, it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the more you lead into that, the more somebody else can learn from your pain.
Exactly.
As opposed to feeling like, oh, okay, we can minimize this. Like, no, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of, I do think it's really important to make hard things funny, and life is hard and it's important for it to be funny. But then also it's kind of like, you're not a joke though. And I think that's something I'm working through, you know, and I think maybe you are too. And it could have to do too with like us having big hearts for people. Like, I don't want you to feel the pain I felt through my story, but then it's like, no, you kind of need to, because it's a life lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I agree with that too. Like, part of it is not wanting the other person to feel uncomfortable, but then the other part is maybe me not wanting to feel uncomfortable as I'm telling the story, you know? Yeah. Because when you open yourself up, it's very uncomfortable.
It is.
But I think it's important to be authentic and, what's the word? Have a brain so that you can speak. Maybe vulnerable.
Yes.
I'm all visible? No, that's not the word. That's not visible enough. But yeah. So also there will be a lot of, in this episode, squirrel.
Yeah, neither of us have a really great attention span.
No. Oh, nice white sweater, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Cool.
So back to this class that we took in high school. The high school we went to was a continuation school. So basically, we got double credit for everything. I think that's the way it worked. Double credits, right? For
I don't even
something
know.
like that.
I just knew I was like, cool, somebody's letting me in a school.
Exactly.
I'll go here.
I'll go here.
I'll try to get my high school diploma. I'll work on that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So they had this class called the Pop Arts Academy, and in this class you had the opportunity to get credits for every single subject. So we would research a topic, which would be history credit. Then we would write a play about said topic, which was English credit. And then we would perform the play, which was elective credits. So it was really cool. I mean, I think the only one we didn't get credit for is math.
In college, and you must be right, because when I went to college, I made it to college, folks. I took so much math tutoring that they gave me a unit for it.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's
I
really
did
cool.
not know math. But yeah, so you're probably right about the math thing.
So yeah, that's how we met. And I played Miss America.
Yes, she was awesome at it, and
Yeah.
I wanted to vote for you. I don't know what your I don't know what your campaign was, but I was about it.
That's funny. And I was remembering some of my lines today because it was Miss America, but not the beauty pageant. So they were like, welcome, Miss America. And I'm like, I am not Miss America. I would never participate in a beauty pageant where all men care about is how I look.
Yeah. But then in your role, you're wearing like a bright red suit. Let's say, I don't care.
Okay.
So that's how we
I'm being too loud. But maybe because I'm so used to it being quiet in here all day long.
Yeah. So that's how we met. Yes.
Yeah. So we met in high school through that class. And why don't you tell me a little bit about what happened after you graduated high school?
All right. And so I'll have Katie kind of keep me a little bit honest because, like I said, I don't know my past. I know enough of it to know it was dirty, and there are things that I know, but I honestly, there's a lot of empty blanks. So, like, I had a lot of family issues, as people do, which I don't go into in deep depth because that's actually what I realized when I used to tell my testimony. I'm super big into church. And when I used to tell my testimony, I tell the story linear from beginning to end. And then God kind of showed me, and I kind of learned that part of my story is actually not even my story. Like, it is, but it's more my mom's testimony and those people's testimony and maybe like some of their pain that reflected on me. And especially because my mom's a different person now, I was like, that's not my story. So I just kind of almost glaze over it, unless glaze
Like a glazed donut.
No, I just go past it unless I think that it's like would be really pertinent to the person I'm talking to. So whatever. Just like all of us, I had a little bit of a rough go of it as a kid. And especially when I was 11, there was a lot of things that happened, and some other family members live with us because of, situations with their family. And it just was a huge mess. And I just never really cleaned up that mess. And so, I went to high school. I didn't do great there. And then I think I got kicked out of C school. Either I got kicked out of C school or I quit going. So this is continuation school. So if that just tells you anything. And then I was homeschooled, my poor mom, like the last year. And through this, I would like try to get better and not get better and all this stuff. And Katie actually played me this demo CD she has from like when I was 16 or whatever.
Insert here.
No,
I'm just kidding.
And it was talking about God, this song. And I was like really surprised. I was like, oh, I wrote a song about God at that time. But it just showed like I was always trying to find myself. But I was like doing it by myself. So then by the time high school was over, I was a frapping mess. Like, I lived with my sister's friend, my sister who's 4 years older than me, 4 years younger than me. So like her 15-year-old friend was more put together than me. So I lived with her. And then I lived with Katie and Tygan for a bit, which I'm sure was great for them.
Yeah. Well, thanks for not including shithead in that.
Yeah. I don't even know that I was aware he lived there most of the time. I was just like in my own world. And then Katie and her mom tried to introduce me to AA. And I was like,
We did?
yes.
Or was it my mom?
Your mom tried to teach me about AA. And I'm like, I'll go to this, in between drinking. And like, I went. And it meant nothing to me because I was like, first of all, I wasn't ready. I think people have family members and they're devastated and they want to help them and they want them to get better. But like sometimes you can't. Like you cannot wrap your head around your freaking life.
Yeah.
And that's why, you're stuck in this. And I couldn't wrap my head around my freaking life and who I was. All I knew is that I wanted the train to stop. And the train stopped sometimes when I was drinking. Or if it was still going, I didn't care where it was going. So then I moved to Arizona because I forget why I quit living with you. I think I hit rock bottom a little bit. I worked for my dad, but then I was drinking before I went to work and stuff.
I think the four of us technically were kicked out because Tigan's dad sold the place.
Okay.
But I don't remember if you were already moved out by then or not.
I don't know.
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
That was a really long time ago. Yeah. So that happened. And then I was like, hey, what's great? Let me move back in with my family. Even though I have all these unresolved issues with my family. And I was just a fripping mess. I just was like, well, maybe my family can help me. Which didn't happen, which isn't necessarily their fault. It just was a mess. But I don't know. Do we need to put some more context to this story, or is it fine that it's going this way?
I think it's fine.
Okay. So then I moved out to Arizona, and I was like, cool, fresh start, don't know nobody, start over. I think I tried to go to church for a couple times. I always kind of believed in God, but I just didn't have a relationship there, and I just didn't know how to see him behind all of the mess that was going on. So I moved to Arizona, and then that's kind of where things just spiraled down more.
Yeah.
I just continually drank. And then sometimes I would even, your brother lived out there at the time.
Yeah.
So
and that's when he was deep into his alcoholism.
So I'd be
too,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah. So then I'd hang out with him. So then that was just bad because we were just two addicts hanging out hey. Yeah. And he's actually, Katie's brother is a wonderful person, amazing person. And he was even, great to be around at that time, even though he was, stuff like me. But just, just fuel on the fire, the people I was around and everything. And so I was, okay, the reason I'm telling this story and the reason I want to tell it is because I think we have this misconception of drinking is just drinking and it's fine and it won't ever escalate. That's not true. Especially if you're somebody who's drinking because you're in a lot of pain, and if you're an addict like me, it's gonna escalate. I can almost 100% guarantee that to you. So I thought I was just drinking, that was fine. And then I found no-dos. And the only reason I wanted no-dos is because I wanted to stay up and drink more. I had really no attachment to them. And basically, if you don't know what it is, it's coffee and a little pill.
Okay. I just gave her a look what the heck is that?
Yeah, you can get it at the grocery store.
Okay.
Or the 7-Eleven. So I was like, cool, this keeps me awake. This is fine. And so I would do that. And then I had friends at the time that were doing meth and things like that. And I was like, oh, I would never do that. And I was almost judgmental of them. I was like, I would never do meth. I would never do anything like that. How can you do that? But I'm going to snort no-dos. I mean, I started just taking it orally, but then you're like, you know what? I'm taking it orally. That's fine. I can snort it. And
it's going to go in your system one way or another. So
you start reasoning
with
yourself. You're like, okay, I'm up now drinking more, and I feel better when I'm drinking, whatever. And I have a pep in my step. And so I would do that. And then after that, it was Adderall. And I was like, well, it's not over the counter, but it's still people are prescribed it for ADD. And how do I know I don't have ADD? I freaking thought that for real. So I was like, how do I know I don't have ADD? What if I'm helping myself? So then I started taking Adderall. And then I was like, well, I'll snort Adderall. I snorted no-dos. And it just was this thing that was escalating in my head, I still didn't think it was. I was like, man, my friends doing drugs, how are they doing this? And I even lived with somebody who did drugs too. And I just like, we were at this house one time and they brought the drugs out and they were starting it and I had left. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you do that. I'm like judging her and here I am like, starting Adderall. It's so crazy. So I'm continually drinking and all of that shenanigans. And one night I had a really rough night. I'd broken up with somebody. And the alcohol wasn't cutting it. And I'll tell you right now, there's going to become a day, whatever you're doing is not cutting it. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cutting it. And I told my friend, like, I want to do something different. And my friend was like, no, don't. And it was like almost like God trying to interview in my life, even though I didn't believe in him in that time. I wasn't following him. So I had a friend who was telling me like, no, you don't want to do that. And I was like, yeah, I do. And I had met somebody else. I think I met him at a party or anything or something before, and he had drugs. So I texted him and I was like, I want to get together, whatever. I want to come hang out. So I went to hang out and I was like, I don't care what you have. I don't care what it is. Like, I want to do it. And he's like, I have crack.
Whoa.
Right? Like, this escalated really quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so that was like the first thing I did. And I honestly, I probably would have done anything that night, because even though it was like the situation at hand was just that I had broken up with somebody, it just came to a point where everything in my life was like, alcohol wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is the next thing that's available right now. So I'm going to do this. And so I started smoking crack. And it just, I didn't even like it. I think it's when I went into depression is when I started kind of cutting myself and everything. Mm-hmm. I had been bulimic before this too, so it was like not unusual for me to be self-harming, but like it just was a different way of self-harm and like this different low I felt, because if something brings you real high and it's not Jesus or it's not something positive, it's going to bring you really freaking low because it's this negative thing. It's not a true positivity, a true high. So like I would just plummet. And then I had a friend tell me, and it was a friend I had judged previously for doing meth. I had a friend tell me, oh, it's because you're smoking crack. It's because you need to do coke. And I'm like, oh, okay.
My bad.
Thank God you're here to guide me through this.
Through my drug addiction.
This journey.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, great. Worst decision ever. Because I have never, to this day, been so attached to something that was not God. And the minute I had it, I was like, this is it. This is the answer to my entire life. I found it. And I was so excited. I was like, I don't need crack. I don't need alcohol. I don't need anything. I just need Coke. And I just thought it was the answer to everything in life. And I was like, I wish everybody knew about Coke and like they'd be so happy. Whatever. Like I thought it was the freaking answer and nobody knew about it. And I still would drink sometimes, but I cared more about Coke. And anywhere I did it, like it just was a mess. And to fast forward, so I was doing all of that. And this one time, it got to this point, in my head, I had like this internal struggle because I wasn't even there anymore. I was like buried deep inside of myself, but I was just like this, it sounds funny because everybody says it's a shell of a person, but I was like a shell of a person. And I just was acting like on animal mode, like on the animal brain, and there was like not even a soul in there, it felt like sometimes anymore. And like I would have these moments of clarity and then I would like flush my drugs, and then the next day I'd see like deodorant on the ground of the bathroom and I'd be like, that's drugs. I would like try to snort deodorant. And, like,
wow. Really?
Yes. And this one,
that's not funny.
It's okay, you can laugh.
I know. Okay.
It's because it's crazy.
Yeah.
This one time, one of the defining moments I had was like, I was in the bathroom and I was supposed to go to a Halloween party. And I had just cut myself really bad, and I was high, and I just taped it up and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, you're an animal. You're not even a person. You're just an animal. So I was feeling that, and I just was deep in there. I almost felt like I was not even there anymore, but I was. Like there was this little glimmer of me in there. And before this too, I was in there, but I never was there. And since I was like a kid, I was like, either eating a lot or doing other things to try to I was in there, but I was always buried under all this stuff. And I think that happens when you have kind of a difficult life, which a lot of people have a difficult life, but especially addicts. What we do is we're almost like hoarders, right? We take all this stuff and shove it inside of ourselves to hide what's really in there. And it's like, it's in there, but it's hidden around all this stuff. And you're like, it's safe in there. But no, it's freaking dying in there. Your soul is dying in there. Yeah. And that's really what's happening. So I felt like I was like an animal. And sometimes when I would come home late.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Sometimes when I would come home late at night, I'd hear like this Christian radio show, and it would be like, ask for prayer, this and that. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that. And I was like, no. And then this one day, I was super frapping high, and I was home, and I was so high. I think it was Coke. I don't know what. I had done something, whatever it was. And I'm in the corner of the room, and I'm holding a stuffed animal like a little kid. Mm-hmm. Oh, it makes me emotional. It's funny because it's like almost not even a part of me now. So it's like I'm looking at this person that was there, and I just feel sad for them. But I was holding the stuffed animal in like the corner of my room, and I was like just so high, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Sorry, but I don't know what to do. Sorry, I didn't know I'd get.
Don't be sorry.
I Googled this church, and they had a program called Celebrate Recovery, if you've ever heard about it. And so I was like, I gotta do something. So I went to the church, and I was like, okay, I'll try this, and I will quit doing cocaine, but like not quit drinking. Nobody quits drinking.
No.
And so I went there, and I really thought that. I was like, they don't understand. They must have never been as addicted as me. I don't know why I'm getting.
It's okay.
Sorry, I tell this story so much, it's still sad.
I was going to ask, has it been a while since you've told this story?
I just told it last year, but not in so much detail. So
maybe is it because you've never told me this story before and we're close?
I think that, well, no. Actually, I think it's just, so every time you tell it, you remember different stuff, I think. Yeah. And I think little crevices of my mind don't remember things. And then the longer I'm so sober, the more I tell the story, I'll hit a nerve that I didn't know was there yet, or I forgot about. And so it'll hit me hard, but then I'll tell the rest of the story and I'll be fine. I'm used to telling it, but I'm like, oh gosh, I forgot that. So you forget little pieces of yourself. But anyways, I had kind of forgotten that moment. I love you too. So I'd kind of forgotten that moment. So sorry about that. But anyways, I started going there, and honestly, I was like, they're just not as addicted to me as me. So if they were that addicted, they would know that I can never quit everything, but I can quit some stuff. And so I quit doing drugs, and I was still drinking hardcore, and I was still cutting and just doing other things. And then ended up in the hospital. I mean, duh, right?
Yeah.
So I'd have these hospital visits where I'd get really sick from like just all the drinking or the things I was doing. And one time I was in the hospital, and I said, you know what, God, I can't ever quit doing this. I cannot. And I don't know how anyone ever does. So if you're real, you have to do it. And that was it. That was my prayer. It was like really simple. Just like, if you're real, you have to do it. I can't do it. And after that, I would get so sick, even if it just had a sip of alcohol. It was so crazy. And when I had gone to the doctor, they told me I had all these kidney stones, all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, why am I getting sick even when I just drank a little bit? It just was weird. It wasn't a medical thing because there was nothing like that they said when I'd go to the hospital would be happening or anything.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's weird. So then slowly I had to quit drinking a little bit because of that. And then I went back to the doctor and all my kidney stones were gone. And I was like, what? Why? And I hadn't passed anything. And I had these huge ones. And like, I was like, what is happening? And I was like, oh my gosh, is God like for real? That was like the thought in my head. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, okay, God. And then I started trying to go to church and I started going to Celebrate Recovery. And I was like, maybe I could really do all of this. Like, if God is real, maybe I could really, really do it all. And little things would happen. Like, I didn't have a lot of money. I mean, the spoiler alert, I was a drug addict and I had a lot of money. And so
I'm so shocked.
Yeah. I tithed one time at church and I tithed like $5, which was like, okay, I don't really have $5, but here's $5. And then randomly I had this DVD case I opened when I got home to watch a movie and there was $5 in there. And it was just like, God has shown me like, yep, this is real. I'm real. And I just gave it to God. I did. And he just like led my journey and changed my life. Sorry. I'm not sorry about crying about that because it's just amazing. Yeah. But
I was just going to say, you never have to be sorry about crying.
Yeah.
You're a human.
So, I mean, I moved to California with my family, which I had to do. I had nothing. I was if there's something below rock bottom, I'd found rock bottom. I took a drill. I like drilled through the bedrock and I was down there. Yeah. So I had to move out to California and move with my family and everything. So I did. And I started going to Celebrate Recovery out here. I met some great people that helped me out. This isn't fully my story. This is going to be part of somebody else's story now, but I think it's really important to tell. It's for other addicts who've been sober. This might happen to you, so I think it's really important part of the story to tell. So I moved out here and I met my first sponsor and I loved her. She's just perfect. She was my first and only sponsor. That's how much I loved her. And when I met her, she's like sitting on a chair, how I sit, basically no shoes, like a bohemian dress. And I was like, oh, this is my people. And the first time I met her, she's like, just call me anytime. Call me for anything. And so I was having all these crazy thoughts. And just so you know, if you're getting sober and you're like, your brain's a mess, it's totally normal. Like, you're going to be a psychopath for like 18 months. It's okay.
Yep.
So I was insane. And I was like, I'm having crazy thoughts. And she's like, oh, no, yeah, you're going to be nuts for like 18
on top of
months.
your already nutness.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, but she never judged me. And she was the first person who never judged me. And I mean, people at Celebrate Recovery loved me, but they didn't really know my story, like when I lived in Arizona. But she was the first person I told my story. And she was like, that's okay. And that's, you were hurting. And just like she had like pure love.
Yeah.
And everything. So she was just like, great. And so I got sober with her. I went through all 12 steps. And I think I worked closely with her until I was like 2 years sober. And then I just kind of did my own thing because I was doing good and I had accountability partners. And
ladies and gentlemen, we have an awkward pause right here because I had a customer who's come in and there's going to be background music, but this story's so good I don't think you care. So let's go.
All right. So basically I was talking about that my sponsor was Bohemian Blonde Angel.
Oh.
Anyways.
Is she really bohemian?
No, I'm just teasing.
Oh.
That was like kind of her style. It's kind of her spiel.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so she'd take me through this 12 steps and I was like really close in step with her like the first year and a half. And then after that, I just kind of did my own thing, like not being accountable to anybody, but I had accountability partners and I was kind of more mature in my walk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she ended up relapsing, which was like devastating for me. And it's kind of scary when you're an addict too, because you're like, does that mean I'm going to relapse? My sponsor relapsed. And so things kind of fly through your head and everything. But your story doesn't have to be anybody else's story. Not your sponsor's, not anybody's. So she relapsed. And then after that, she went through subsequent relapse, and I was still close to her, but I wasn't, of course, she wasn't sponsoring me or anything like that. And I would talk to her every now and then, even though she was out, and I would pray for her a lot. And the beginning of this year, she died of an overdose, a heroin overdose. And it crushed me. Like, when I say it crushed me, I feel like that's like
an understatement.
Yeah. Like, there's just not another word for what it did. It just crushed me. And it wasn't just that she died, even though that's horrible. It was like this person who saved me from drowning just drowned. And that is the best way to explain it. Like, this person saved me from drowning, but they drowned. And it just was devastating. Like, what could I have done? Could I have done this? Could I have saved her? Like, what could I do? You know, and it just was this feeling of like devastation and sadness. And I just didn't understand. I was like, why did like God save me, but she wasn't saved? And I just felt so sad about it. And the day I found out I was at work, and my husband told me, thank God, because I wouldn't want anyone else on earth to tell me that. So he told me, and we're going home from work, and I'm just crying and devastated, and I'm talking to God. And one thing I thought about is like, I don't know where she was in her walk with God. And, you know, it's just like this gray area. And as I'm thinking that, this huge semi truck passes me, and it's all white, and all it says on it in huge letters in the back is, heaven has another angel. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I knew it was God talking to me, and I knew it was God telling me that she went to heaven, and just like meant so much to me. And I think the reason I told that story is because, like, in sobriety, you know, you put your sponsors on a pedestal and the people that help you on the pedestal, and they're going to fail you. Like, they totally are. Yeah. That doesn't mean that they failed God. Like, she didn't fail God. You know what I mean? Because we're already a mess. And it didn't mean anything about her salvation. Because, like, I don't care who you are. That was like a miracle. Like, it was so random. I've never seen a semi truck say in the hugest letters ever, heaven has another angel. It was just God. And then, like, I got to tell that story at her funeral, and I gave other people hope. And one thing I said at her funeral is, she might have lost the fight, but she didn't lose the war, because I'm here. Yeah. And we're here. Woo. And
girl,
somebody else.
Hold on, I just got chills.
And God kind of led me to say that at her funeral, because it's like, okay, fine. She lost the fight. She didn't lose the battle, because she gave birth to me, who's sober, and I'll give birth to somebody else. I have a sponsee who's rocking it. Nice. And I freaking love her, and she's been sober for years, and now she sponsors other people. You live on for those people. Yeah. And it's like, we're on this mission all together, and somebody else might fall down, and they might never get back up, but that's okay, because they already passed the baton on. Yeah. You know, and I don't know, I just thought that was a little piece of hope for somebody, that like, not everybody makes it out, but everybody gets to heal a little bit, and we're all still here for like the bigger purpose. So I mean, that's my story. My story is still continuing. That just happened this year, and I'm 10 years sober. So
I'm going to put applause right there. I'm going to insert applause sound effect.
That's so cute. So I'm 10 years sober, and like, it just doesn't ever end. 8 years into my sobriety, God told me, like, you still have addictions. I'm like, what? Which I do know on like some level, you're always an addict, but I was 75 pounds overweight. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're addicted to food. Mm-hmm. And I want to insert here that I don't think everyone who's curvier is addicted to food. Some people are naturally curvier. That's 100% true. Not me. I was like hitting those gummy bears hard. And so I was like, okay, God, I haven't gotten rid of all of it. And so I had to do the same thing and be like, I cannot do this. You have to do it. And I went through, all the steps with him, and I lost 75 pounds. And now so it must have been more than 8 years ago, but or I mean, it must have been more than 2 years ago, maybe 3 that I like lost the weight. Because now I think I've been at my goal weight almost 2 years. But yeah, I lost 75 pounds. So it's like you're always growing, you're always getting up and stuff. And I feel like all of that gunk that's in me is gone. Mm-hmm. And probably the best way I've ever heard it say was by, what is the name of that singer from Korn who's a Christian now? He's bomb.
Jonathan Davis?
Is that his name?
The singer?
He's got no, not the singer. I'm sorry. He's in the band. And he has like the cornrows.
I don't know.
And his long hair. Anyways, he's sober and Christian. And the way he said it is like, I can never say it this way, but it just made the most sense. As he said, when he became a Christian, it was like he was a jack-o'-lantern. And Jesus came and he cleaned out all of the gunk that was inside, and then he took his little light and he put it right there. Aww. So that the jack-o'-lantern would shine. And that's what it is. So if you have gunk, you don't even have to be an addict. If you have gunk and you're so afraid and your little light is hidden in there and you're afraid for it to shine or afraid for whatever happened to your life to come out, like, let it out. There's nothing you have done or nothing that has happened to you that is beyond God or even beyond you getting better. And if anyone judges you for it, that's on them, not you.
Yeah.
We all have our own story. It doesn't matter. There's nothing you've done or could do to make you above, like, getting forgiven by God or getting better. We all can get better, and that looks different for everybody. You know, my sponsor, she died, and that's sad. And she wasn't able to get all the way out, but she got to experience times where she was all the way out.
Yeah.
You know, and she got to experience the love of God. And it doesn't mean she was healthy all the time, but she had times where she wasn't sad. So I think it looks different for everybody, but I think everybody can get better in their own way. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. You're good enough. You're smart enough. And doggone it, people like you. I almost forgot the rest of it.
That part doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Okay, so that answered my first question. Who are you? Just kidding.
Right.
Yeah. I would definitely love to have you back because I know that's just one little section. Well, not little, but that's one big section of your life. But we all are made up of giant sections of life happening to us. Yeah. So I would love for you to come back and tell more stories. Yeah. Like maybe the story of you gaining 4 almost grown stepchildren.
True.
That's a good story.
I do have 4 adult children. Well, 3 adult children. One's still not an adult, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll hear that story, and we'll hear the story. You told me a story last time we hung out about how you got your new job.
Yes,
and
that's
I had
pretty
the
bananas.
Chills the whole time you told that story. So we want to hear that story.
And about my husband, Prince Charming, amazing person. I can tell you that story.
That story. And then the story we can tell right now of us going into Ralph's, into the Scoopy section and eating all the candy.
Oh, I'm a candy countess. I couldn't think of a word that rhymed. Oh, candy connoisseur.
Candy countess. I like that. We'll make that a word. That's candy
a word connoisseur. Candy countess. I still
candy
love
countess.
Candy. Oh my gosh.
Candy.
Oh gosh.
Okay, yay or nay on candy corn?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, do I need to kick her out of my head? I'm just gonna
rebuke anybody who doesn't like candy corn.
That's so funny. So, thank you for sharing your story. There's parts that I've never heard. You know, it's always interesting, like the people on the outside, just knowing that their friends are going through something and they don't know what it is or they don't understand it and they can't help in any way, and even though we didn't talk for a long time while you were going through all this, I was still thinking about you and going, I wonder how she's doing. I wonder,
I was dying.
or I wonder how crazy she's being today, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always cool when I can hear the whole story. Because addicts aren't bad people. They just get sucked into this, I don't even know what to call it.
I know what it is.
You know what I'm talking about,
yes,
though.
And I'm going to say my favorite analogy because it might help an addict who's listening or somebody who might not know they're an addict.
Yeah.
Is I think what happens is, and unfortunately we hurt so many people around us. And that's something I didn't realize until, my sponsor went out or other people I knew went out. And what I tell sponsees when I get them, and people who know me have heard this 1,000 times, so they're like, really, Sarah, you say this all the time, but I think it's important, is when we're born and when we go through life, we get a toolbox, right? Mm-hmm. And most people, or some people, have all the tools in their toolbox, and they'll use a screwdriver or the hammer or whatever. When you're an addict, you open your toolbox, and all you have in there is a sledgehammer. So you're like, I'm going to hang a picture. I'm going to make dinner. Rah! It's like, oh, do you need a sledgehammer for that? Can't you use like a spatula or a wooden spoon? You're like, no, sledgehammer. And so our whole life, for every situation, we're using our sledgehammer. And it's the only way we know how to address everything. So it's like, you got to learn, like, okay, I'm going to put down the sledgehammer. I actually never need that. It's not useful. And I'm going to, pick up some Scotch tape. Pick up some,
a nail and a hammer, maybe.
Yeah. And so, like, we're just demolishing everything, and that's what it is. We just have the wrong tool in our toolbox, and we're destroying everything because that's the only tool we have is destructive. Mm-hmm. So it's like we got to get those, repairing tools.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. But I have one question for you that I ask everybody at the end of each episode of the Unveiling the Beast podcast. And that is, if you had one piece of advice to give to the world, what would it be?
You said this to me yesterday, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Yeah. And I just my personality was like overanalyzing. I'm like, what would I say? And I'm like, every culture is different. Like what helps everybody? And then I was like, this is what helps everybody. Okay. You fit here. Like, I think everybody sometime feels like I don't fit in or I don't fit here. Well, the creator of the universe plopped you on this earth and you fit. You were made to be here no matter who you are. And no one can tell you can't live here. God created the earth and plopped you here. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. I don't care. You fit right on this earth. You're supposed to be here. So that's all. I'm not making me cry because she's crying.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Michelle Brunzell signing off. Until next time.